plasticians. I'm very excited to have Dr. Margaret Paul on the channel today. Margaret, your work precedes you. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Justin?
I'm really excited to have you on the call. How's it been going inside the hub? Have you been meeting and having any time with anyone on events or anything?
Yeah, well, I went on one of the roundtables, and I just so enjoyed the kind of interaction that goes on. People seem to really be willing to step up to the plate and share what's really happening with them. And I saw a lot of caring, a lot of respect. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we're really respecting and care to learn more about your work, Margaret. So let's dive right in. Those of you who haven't been in the hub yet or haven't heard about you, why don't you give us a quick introduction to the library of work that you have developed, Margaret? So just give us a quick introduction and we'll take it from there. How does that sound?
Yeah, so I worked for 17 years as a traditional psychotherapist, and I wasn't happy with the outcome. And I'd had tons of my own therapy, and I wasn't happy with that either. So I started to ask for a process or a teacher that would really work fast and deep. And that's when I met Dr. Erica Chopich. She's the co-creator of Inner Bonding, and she had half the process, and I had half the process, and we got a lot of spiritual help in putting it together into these really, really powerful 6 steps that I've been sharing and working with for the last, I guess, now 41 years. And it's been evolving all that time. And it's a process to help people really come in touch with who they really are, not who they think they are, but who they really are, and to connect with a higher source of love and wisdom that's here for us, and to develop what we call the loving adult that is has a lot of personal power, is connected to a source of love and wisdom, so that we can learn to take loving care of ourselves. A lot of people, self-love is a big thing now. People say, oh, you got to love yourself, but they don't have any idea what that means. And so people
Mm.
who practice inner bonding really do learn what it means in terms of learning to take responsibility for your feelings, for your needs, to not be dependent, to not be needy, to have a source of love and wisdom that's available. It's really a powerful process.
Well, that is, give us a quick elevator pitch of what is in the bonding specifically, Margaret. We're going to have lots of people curious to hear more and to come to an event and learn from you. So just give us a quick up top level if you don't mind. That would be so cool.
Yeah, so I can quickly go through the 6 steps of inner bonding. It's a powerful pathway, and the first step. See, most of us, as we were growing up, we had pain and we didn't know how to handle it, and so we were born being present in our
Mm.
body with our feelings, but we learned to go up in our head to avoid the pain. Well, now we got to get back
Mm.
into our body. We've got to get back to being aware and conscious of what we feel, because our feelings are
Mhm.
a very powerful source of inner guidance. Our feelings
Mm.
come from our soul, who we really are, the true self. We can call that an inner child, we can call that a soul, whatever works. But all of our feelings have vital information. Like if we're feeling anxious or depressed or angry or guilty or shamed, that's letting us know that the wounded ego aspect of us is in charge, coming from many, many false beliefs. A lot of people don't realize that, for example,
Mm.
anxiety has information letting us know that we're abandoning ourselves in various ways. Whereas when we feel peaceful, that's letting us know that we're taking loving care of ourselves. And so the feelings are very important. So step one is learning to get back in your body, being aware of your feelings, wanting responsibility for them. And then we move into step two, which is opening to learning. In inner bonding, there's only two intentions that are possible. And one is the intention to learn about loving yourself and sharing your love with others. And the other is the
Mhm.
intention to avoid pain, protect against pain with various forms of controlling behavior. And so in step two, we consciously open to learning, and we teach people how to access, how to connect with a higher source. So in step two, we're actually becoming that loving adult by being open to learning and connecting with a higher source. Step three, we go back into the feelings and we do an inquiry. We explore what is our guilt, what is our shame, what is our anger telling us, what is our grief, what is our loneliness, what is our heartbreak telling us. All of our feelings have information. So we go in and we explore. And if we're abandoning ourselves, like we're telling ourselves, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not important, or you don't fit in, or you don't belong here, or you're stupid, you're ugly. I mean, these are all the things that people absorb as they're growing up that are not true about them. And so we want to explore on a deeper level what we're
Okay.
telling ourselves, how we're treating ourselves. That's where we become aware of our false beliefs. And once we become aware of how we're treating ourselves and why we're treating ourselves that way, what the beliefs are, then we go to step four, which is opening with our higher source of love and wisdom and opening to learning about what's true and what is actually loving to us, what's in our highest good. And that takes practice, of course, to access that higher source. It takes practice for people to trust it, but it's there for everybody. You know, a lot of people have spiritual abuse where they think, oh, they're going to be judged or they're going to be told what they have to do. None of that is true. And so when people learn to open to their higher source, they get wonderful, powerful information about who they are and about what's loving to them and to others. And then in step five, we take the action that we're guided to take. And in step six, we go in and evaluate how we're feeling as a result of that action. And so when people learn this process and practice it, it becomes a normal part of their life. Just like if you had a child who was
Mm-hmm.
upset, a loving parent wants to listen, wants to hear what's going on. Is there something I've done that's been hurtful to you? That's what a loving parent does, and then helps the child find how to deal with it. We're actually doing that on the inner level.
This is so interesting work, and I'm so interested to understand how this shows up in relationship to neuroplasticity in the brain. That's the thing that's we're really interested in this environment. And also, maybe you have one, Margaret, is to give me a story about one of the people that have benefited from this process. Do you have anything
You
in
know,
mind?
I can, it's easier to talk about me. So when I started to practice inner bonding,
Yes.
I would be very reactive. I would
Hmm.
get angry. I would use food to avoid my feelings. I would blame other people, or I would then try and fix everything by being a caretaker, taking care of everybody else's feelings. And when inner bonding came in, I was really ill. I was very, very ill because you can't keep abandoning yourself like that without getting sick. So as I
Hmm.
started to learn and practice inner bonding, I realized quite quickly that the practice of it actually creates new neural pathways in the brain. I could feel my brain changing as I practiced inner bonding, and I reached a point where I was no longer reactive. I was no longer ill. I was no longer caretaking. I was no longer doing all the self abandoning behaviors. Food became a non issue. I mean, I was so addicted to food and sugar and junk food. And then once I really developed those new neural pathways, it doesn't even draw me at all at this point. And so, and I've talked to so many of my clients that they say, you know, my brain is changing. I think my brain is changing from this process. And it is because the thing is, most of us did not have good role modeling for being a loving adult, for taking loving care of ourselves. We had a lot of role modeling for abandoning ourselves, with judging ourselves and ignoring our feelings and turning to various addictions and blaming other people as ways of
Hmm.
abandoning ourselves, not taking responsibility. Well, as people practice inner bonding, just like with me practicing it, all of that changes because the brain learns what it means to be a loving adult with yourself and with others. And
Mm.
so it has a huge impact on people's physical health, emotional health. It has a huge impact on relationships. I mean, can you imagine the difference in a relationship with somebody who's actually taking responsibility for their feelings as opposed to ignoring them or blaming their partner for them? It's like night and day. So
Yeah.
the changes in the brain that happen from the practice are phenomenal. In his book, Daniel Siegel's book, Mindsight, he talks a lot about the brain. He talks a lot about
Hmm.
that whatever you focus on for 6 weeks, 3 months, is what changes the brain because the brain does have that neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with inner bonding. The brain changes so much. It's just amazing to me what a different person I am than before I
I'm
started to
interested.
practice.
I'm so interested in the concept of when you're speaking about addiction. There is there is so much great work happening in addiction in the hub this morning. So maybe it's the link between spiritual health and addiction misfunction or disease.
Well,
Have you thought about
addictions,
that connection?
yeah, so addictions are a way that we have learned to avoid pain. I mean, that's basically what they are.
Okay,
You
okay.
know, you play video games so you don't have to feel your feelings. You eat sugar and
Mm,
it tamps down your feelings. You go and yell at somebody and you make them responsible, and then you don't have to feel what's happening within you. And so addictions, whether it's to
hmm.
anger or food or video games or the internet or gambling or whatever it is, pornography, there's so many addictions. They're all about putting a lid on pain because most people have not learned how to manage pain. Their parents didn't know how to manage pain, so where would they learn it? And so what happens with inner bonding is that they learn to manage they learn to learn from their pain, learn from there's two kinds of pain. One is what we call wounded pain, which is the pain we cause with our self-abandonment, anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, anger, aloneness, emptiness, jealousy. And then there's the pain of life, the pain of that other people cause, and the pain of loss, heartbreak, grief, loneliness, helplessness over others. These are very hard feelings. And when we were little, there's no way we could handle these feelings. We couldn't manage them. We had to disconnect. We had to dissociate. We had to turn to addictions as part of our survival. But with inner bonding, people learn to manage that what I call existential pain, the pain of life. Learn how to manage it in loving ways so that you don't have to avoid it, so that it moves through your body. It doesn't get stuck. It doesn't keep you stuck in life. A lot of people get stuck behind their existential
Exactly,
pain.
exactly.
Yeah. So with inner
And then
bonding,
there is an interesting connection between existential pain, spiritual well-being or the lack thereof,
yeah.
and addictive byproduct behaviors. We've got a community that are speaking into the space, so it would be so useful for you to share more about this if that's something you're up for. Margaret, if that's something you're prepared to, you have the time to do to share in the community as a roundtable or something. Would you be up for that?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to do that.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'm going to reach out to Shireen. I'm going to get her to lock something in the calendar, and then she'll reach out to you, and then we can do this together. So, is there anything else? Is there any final comments or thoughts that you want to share with the group before we sign off? What do you think?
Yeah, so I just want to say that anybody can learn inner bonding. If people want to begin, they can go to our website. We have a free 7-day course where they can begin to learn the process. We have a lot of
Hmm.
courses, lots of articles, lots of ways, lots of facilitators. I work with people. I teach a master circle. There's so many ways that people can learn the inner bonding process.
That sounds exciting. Well, let's do this, my friend. I'll send out a note, and I want to just say thank you once again for being on the show. You've got such loving energy, and I'm looking for to have some really deep inner bonding with you in the next round table.
Great.
Take
I
care
look
and
forward to it.
take care until
Bye-bye.
then. Bye bye.